Sharp Game here, back with another video. And in this video, I want to talk about some of the things you should be aware of before you move to Japan. Because there's a myth out here that if you move to Japan, it's all good, everything is peaches and cream, and it's like, it's just not like that. I mean, everywhere you go in this world, there's pros and cons. For the most part, everywhere I've been, traveled and lived, the same shit is going on. The only difference is they go about things a little different, but the same political, social games is happening worldwide. So if you're looking for some place to hide or some place to run, it's not going to happen. Whatever you're facing or whatever you have to deal with, there's a good chance if you go somewhere else, the same problem is going to be there. And I realize some of this is based on who you are, your nationality, and how you were raised. Because let's just face it, some of the experiences that you might be facing, some other nationalities will never face, or some people will never face, or ever have to deal with. So that's just how it is. So until something happens one day, or somebody decides that, hey, we need to change some of this crap, you got to find a way and learn how to navigate around a lot of the BS while you're still living on this planet, wherever you decide to live. So some of the things I'm going to talk about might seem a little strange because Japan is different. However, some of the things are the same. Like, for example, like Japan their foundation is based on their culture. However, they've taken on westernized holidays and the westernized perception of seeing things. And they've used the Fortune 500 companies has pushed a lot of the, I would say, way of living on Japan a lot in the past 10 years. Like, for example, when I was in Japan, they didn't celebrate Halloween, but today they do. When I was in Japan, there wasn't any gay lifestyle being pushed into the schools, but now they do. Were there people in the closet? Of course there were. There were people in the closet when I was growing up, but it wasn't. They didn't push it into the schools on the kids. They don't even do that in America. They don't push it on the kids in America, but they talk about it, but they don't actually force it on them. I mean, they kind of let the kids speak on it and say how they feel. But this didn't happen in Japan when I was there. And this was, 15 years ago when I left Japan. But the more I visit, I see change and I hear people talking about different changes that's been happening. So that's why I say Japan is different but the same. So one thing you have to be aware of when you go to Japan is a lot of people, they take their shoes off. You have to take your shoes off when you go to people's house, or when you go to certain restaurants, or when you go to a certain, let's say, an event, or a lot of places. You're gonna have to take your shoes off when you walk in, and a lot of times it's gonna be easy to spot, because if you go to somebody's house, their shoes are gonna be in the front, a lot of shoes. Or if you go to a public place, it's gonna be a lot of shoes out in the front. So they're gonna tell you to take your shoes off. That's just their part of their culture. That's how they do things, right? So that's the first thing. And a lot of people in Japan, they like to close the doors behind them. So in other words, if there's nobody in the room, the door is gonna be closed. Or if they go to bed, the door is gonna be closed. Everything is the doors is always closed. If no one's in there, the door's gonna be closed. If they're in there in the room sleep, the door's gonna be closed. So all the doors are gonna be closed, because that's just how they do it. And another thing is the medicine and pharmacies in Japan. Now, if you're on any type of medication, and if you go to Japan, a lot of the drugs that's legal here in America or any Western country is probably gonna be illegal in Japan. So if that's the case, if you're on any type of medication, you're gonna have to get that in writing somehow, either through your doctor or maybe through some type of paperwork that they have in Japan. So you won't get in any type of legal problems, because if you get the drug laws in Japan is very harsh. They're very strict. So you don't want to get caught up in anything illegal. You don't want to go to jail. You don't want to get caught up in any of that shit. So just make sure you have the proper documents signed by your doctor and you, and it's notarized, and that can be easily done. That's real simple. All you have to do is just get your doctor to sign, and go to the bank, any local bank in your area, and get it notarized. And you probably have to do the same thing when you get over there too, to Japan. So just be aware of the drugs, and the laws are differ from place to place. And the next thing is, when it comes to sightseeing and touring, it's really good to either get a tour guide or find somebody or get to know some people and have them show you around. Because Japan is not a very easy place to learn your way around, because it's very big and a lot of the signs are in Japanese, and especially in most of the smaller areas. Now, if you're in Tokyo or in any of the bigger cities like Osaka, Okinawa, and any place any town that has a military base. Now, some of the signs are gonna be in English and Japanese. But if you're in a smaller town that's not foreign friendly, most of the signs and most of the directions are gonna be in Japanese. And a lot of people don't speak English in Japan. Of course, if you're in Tokyo, yeah. But if you're in the smaller towns, probably not. So just be aware of that. So it's good to make friends fast, and if you can't make friends fast, just get a tour guide if you want to sightsee and learn your way around as quick as possible. And now, when it comes to the smoking, certain places you can't smoke, and certain places you can. You just gotta look for the signs that they have posted, or if not, just ask somebody. And stay away, like I said earlier, stay away from the drug laws is very crucial in Japan. Like when it comes to like cocaine, and it's not legal to smoke weed in Japan. So if you don't want to get caught up in none of that shit, because there's a lot of weed smokers in America, and a lot of people feel like they can just get in their car and drive or walk down the street and smoke weed. Not in Japan. Don't do that shit. Cops don't really fuck with you in Japan unless you're doing something. You have to really be doing something like outrageously wrong, because you can actually drink beer down the street in Japan. No one's gonna really bother you because they have beer machines on the street. But when it comes to weed and any other type of drug, that's just don't do it. Just don't do it. And another thing is summertime, and it gets a little hot in Japan. Not as hot as being in like Texas or Mexico or anything like that, but it gets hot. Not so humid, but just make sure you drink water. And like I said, there's machines mostly on the sidewalks or in the train stations. So if you get thirsty, you can always get something out of the machine because it's easy access when it comes to that stuff. And okay, when it comes to reservations, now, Japanese people, when they make reservations, like regardless if it's a hotel or a tour or an interview or any place where they have to show up at, if you can't make it, if something comes up, I know shit happens. If you can't make it, just cancel. Now, because the Japanese, they assume if you make a reservation that everyone's going to show up. And if you don't show up, it's kind of, that's something that they don't tolerate because they don't do it. So I would say just show a little respect, and if you can't make it, just call and cancel. Because a lot of people in America, they have this thing where they make a lot of promises and they make a lot of appointments and they don't deliver. They do a lot of talking, but they don't walk the talk. But that's not tolerated in Japan. Actually, that's looked down upon. That's looked down upon. That's like a form of disrespect in Japan. See, a lot of people in America, they talk big talk and they don't walk the walk. But in these other countries, they don't follow the status quo. If they really, for the most part, say what they feel and they do what they want. So you got to be aware of that when you go to Japan. There's no status quo. There's no, nobody's going to kiss your ass. Nobody's going to treat you in a certain way just because of who you are and where you came from, because you lived in New York or Chicago or Miami, or because you're white. No, people treat you accordingly. They treat you based on how you act, how you carry yourself, and how you go about your business. So these are just certain things that you should think about before you go to Japan. And if you follow these rules, I think you'll have a good time. But there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of things I can go on about. But these are just a few just to jumpstart your time when you first get to Japan. So if you like what you heard, subscribe to my channel. Check out my blog, chooseyourrelationships.com. So until next time, Sharp Game is out.